I'm not a very tolerant person. There. I said it. Now, when it comes to race, religion, sexual orientation, or whatever, I'm solid. I mean, I make fun of religion, but as long as people aren't storming universities or newspaper offices or museums and killing people in the name of their storybook, or stopping 13-year-old me on the street to try and get me to invite them to my house on a Wednesday afternoon, I don't have an actual problem with religion. When it comes to sexual orientation, I say fuck whoever or whatever you want, as long as it's consenting, and remember, horses can't say yes, no matter how much peanut butter you rub on their gums. And I believe in treating all races equally as bad as you treat your own. After all, almost all of my worst enemies are white. But there are some things I just don't have any fucking patience for. And otherkin are one of those things. What's an otherkin? Those of you who have managed to avoid Tumblr ask? Well, they are people who believe they are not human. At least, not completely. They believe themselves to share the spirit, soul, and or mind of an often mythical animal. Unicornkin or dragonkin, for example, believe they are part unicorn or part dragon. They believe they are partially a creature that has never existed outside of a fairy tale or D&D handbook. But it doesn't always have to be mythical. At first, I just thought these were some lonely attention seekers on the internet. People who probably grew up as that kid at school no one notices, no one cares about. You know the one. The ones that even the shittiest bullies kind of feel bad about picking on, and so they take to the internet, longing to be paid attention to, by creating personas that will result in people giving them some sort of attention, positive or negative, and finding other like-minded nobodies sharing their fantasy life with them. I was convinced this had to be the case because a logical, mentally stable person couldn't possibly believe that they are part centaur. I mean, I guess technically we're all part centaur, but not the ass end. But then I see this post, sent to me by a friend who I'm sure found it on Reddit. Now, maybe this is role-playing. Maybe this person is just a person at a computer writing a story. If they are, they've done a great job of convincing me that they're an insane person, so congratulations if this is just trolling. They get a question from a fellow Therian, basically an otherkin, but who also believes that they can shift into another animal. Because I guess Twilight's shirtless boys made this popular again. I heard that you had lost a job because of your therianthropy. Is that true? I want to learn about these obvious cases of harassment and discrimination of Therians/otherkin. I need to stop right there for a moment. You are not being harassed or discriminated against because you can't discriminate against things that aren't real. If you want to say that, I heard you lost your job because of your mental illness in which you believe yourself to be a werewolf, we can talk about discrimination against handicapped, differently abled, whatever the PC term is this week, that will be considered offensive next week. Anyway, this person confirms that they did in fact lose their job because of my identity. This person is sick to death of people dismissing instances of otherkin discrimination. Well, here's one more apparently, and oh yes, oppression. Getting fired from the grocery store for being fucking weird, and spoiler alert, but that's how this story ends in case you couldn't fucking guess, is very much the same as slavery or not allowing women to vote. They paint us a vivid and painful picture. The year was 2008. They were a youthful werewolf, only awakened 3 years prior. Surprise, around the time they were 15, 2 years into high school, you can draw your own conclusions. And they got a job at a grocery store, which was good, because it fit in with their naturally nocturnal lifestyle, which, as you know, most nocturnal beings are up and doing stuff with 6 to 8 hours of daylight. And they have a severe social anxiety disorder, which is important that they can recognize because it suggests that they might be at least somewhat self-aware. Anyway, so he or she, we're never told, is having a bit of difficulty with the job due to not being physically strong, which suggests the grocery store's hiring manager sucks at their job. And on top of that, they're starting to get annoyed because people are approaching them to ask about Pepsi, which isn't his or her job. Someone else handles the Pepsi. They just deal with the Coke, or maybe the Faygo, or the fucking RC Cola, or whatever shit they got. So, after the fourth or so person The M shift I'd been fighting for what felt like hours took over. That's right, the beast is loose. I experienced strong feelings of fight or flight, which resulted in some vocalizations, particularly growling and snarling, and a stooped, digitigrade posture as I continued to fight with myself as best I could internally to regain my composure and finish my job. It really felt like my human mask was crumbling through my fingers. Don't they mean paws? But again, this insane idea that they're not actually human, despite having 2 human parents, assuming maybe the family dog didn't get a few pumps in while dad wasn't looking. Though it's a little hazy, because my focus was internal at the time. I believe I may have frightened some of the customers who came into the aisle during this. You think maybe while some person was just trying to get some pop at 6 in the fucking morning and found you snarling and growling while hunched over a stack of grape soda, they thought that you might be a little off-putting? Gee, I can't imagine why. The next day, however, when I went in, the night manager called me into her office and asked what happened. I saw no reason go hide the truth. You saw no reason? None at all? So I told her about my non-human identity and the basics of what shifting is, and that it sometimes happens to a degree where I can't hold it back. She didn't really ask me any questions about it, but gave a look that I can only interpret as an "I'm not so sure you're well" look. And then she suggested to me that maybe this job wasn't the right one for me. First good decision the managers made. My first job, and it was gone because of my identity. No, it was gone because you were barking at a bottle of Shasta. You answered the problem yourself, though. You have severe social anxiety disorder by your own admission. People started coming up to you when you were already tired and worn out, and so in order to deal with that, you escaped into your fantasy world that makes you feel better. That is what happened. And sorry, but that just doesn't make you a good candidate for a job where you have to be out in public. In all seriousness, assuming again that this isn't some fucking farce written as fan fiction for the purposes of trolling or just for attention, please, any attention at all. This person needs help, and maybe someday they'll see someone that can figure out why they feel the need to regress into this fantasy world while in public. I really hope that happens, because, newsflash, you're not a fucking werewolf. You're not a vampire, a unicorn, a dinosaur, or any other creature, whether it actually existed or not, or whether or not it still exists today. And people shouldn't have to accept your fantasy world and play along with you because you want them to. I know that's the society we've become, where everyone's special and everyone gets a pat on the head and told they're okay no matter what choice they make in life, but they're not. And comparing yourselves to transgendered people as some of you do, that's just insulting to trannies. And they've got enough to deal with. Like people like me who still call them trannies. They don't like that. If you're just fucking around on the internet for attention or because you like playing virtual dress-up with other animal wannabes on the internet, fine, whatever. But if you honestly believe you're something other than a human being, you need psychiatric care. The first step is admitting you have a problem. The second step is to stop howling at the moon or root beers and go talk to a trained professional. People can help you, but the others on the internet who believe you truly are otherkin are just enabling you, and you'll never get better if you group together on message boards and talk about why normal people are oppressing you. The only one holding you back at this point is you.